This is a Scrap Your Stash Saturday, so I'm doing scrapbook, so you can see that I have some photos. Finally have some photos for this scrapbook, for this album. And these are my grandfather, so now you know, now you can see the face and the paper pal that I was trying to replicate. It's this man. He's turning 100 this year. It's crazy. So I'll explain the photos later, but let's go ahead and dive into the scrapbook and cutting. So this is going to be the background. I'm using Toffee as the background. There's the light and dark. I'm going to be using the dark side for this one. Okay, let's get my trimmer out here. If you guys saw my space, you would think that I was having a ton of fun before I turned on the camera. What a mess. Do you have messy craft spaces too because you've been crafting? Post them below. Let us see your fun too. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and cut this one down. I'm going to trim off this. This is the bulk pack of Serenity, so you have the really pretty ombre, and then you have the gorgeous flowers. I'm going to be using the flowers on this one. I haven't used them yet in this scrapbook, and I think they're just absolutely lovely. Okay, so there's the zip. I'm not going to be using the zip strip, so actually that's a scrap. Okay, I'm going to be trimming this one down to, let's move it over, to a 5.5. And then I'll trim it down from there. Okay, and then I need a 2" by 5.5. Let's trim it on the other side so I actually see what I'm doing on my actual paper that I want. Yeah, that'll be pretty. Okay, and a 6. Now that one, of course, wasn't scrap, but it is now, right? So this is a 6", right? Yep, that's 6 by 5.5, and then 2 by 5.5. If you're wondering what pattern I'm using, it's called Moondoggy, and it's a free pattern on our blog. So you guys can always run over to the blog. I'll try to remember to post it. I don't think I posted the last one, but I will try to post those today. Okay. This is just a random mix-in paper pack that I have. Good morning for those of you who are joining me. I appreciate it. This is going to be a, let's see, 4 by 5. Yep, 4 by 5.5. Okay, so 4. Let's do 5.5 first because that's a long way. You've seen this paper a lot. So 4" here. Okay. There's my 4 by 5.5 on that one. That's going to be a vertical thing there. Then this one is going to also be a vertical swath this way. I'm going to go ahead and trim the zip strip off finally. That's like one of the first things you do, and it's still on this piece of paper. I have a couple of those in my scraps lately where I haven't trimmed the zips. Okay. This one I'm going to trim down to a 10". So I'm going to need my bar. I actually don't. I can trim it down by 2 inches, right? I try to figure out so I don't have to pull out my extender. I don't know why, but I just try to avoid that extender. I don't know, maybe it's the card maker in me. I'm not usually dealing with a whole huge mess. So that's 10" here, and then I'm going to do 4". All this is scrap for another day. Okay, I have espresso scrap So these two are scraps, and this is a scrap. The big piece of paper was not a scrap, but I need some pattern in there, right? So I need 2 half-inch strips. This one's going to go all the way across, so that's going to be a 12-inch. And I haven't decided if I want to do something to those yet. You will see. I may actually just play around with the one that I trim off of this one. We'll see. See what we do. Okay, that's still scrap for another time. So that's espresso. This one actually has a really drastic contrast. If you guys haven't ever used espresso, it's got quite the contrast between the back side and the front side. Okay. I think that's pretty much it. Now, the other thing, let me just make sure I'm using the dark side here. So on this one, I'm going to have to use my liquid glue because I ran out of my Tombow, if you guys remember, or if you saw on Wednesday, I ran out of my Tombow. So I'm using this Tombow liquid glue, which I like. It just kind of makes the pages kind of crinkly sometimes. It's the only thing I don't like about liquid glue, but that's okay. So this one, so the top photo is actually going to be a 5.5 by 8, and there are 2 photos I'm debating on getting that. This is one. This is of my grandfather. I believe this is Mesa Verde. So this is him out west. He lives in Massachusetts, so he visited my dad quite every year, and this is one of their trips. They went camping every year. And then he came down to Arizona. My dad lives in Arizona in the winter, and my aunt and my grandfather came and visited my dad. This is my dad. So I actually kind of like this one as my big photo, and I'd probably leave the mat as 5.5 by 8, and then I can do a little bit of journaling on the side over here. So I'm going to trim. I'm going to bring my trimmer back in, but I'm going to trim a placeholder for that, and that's going to be this one. Excuse me. Spring has sprung here, guys, and it's messing with my nose. I don't know if you guys have allergies too, but oof, boy, not fun. Okay, so I'm just going to trim it down to 8 and 5.5, so I know exactly which size I need. And then this will become like a mat, and I think I'm going to go ahead and just put that down, but I am going to write on it so that I remember what size this is. So this is 5.5 by 8, and I think I want a 5 by 7 photo, which is going to take up majority of this, so it doesn't matter where I write, really. I do kind of want to leave just a little blank area, either here or here. It doesn't have to be very big, because that's where a little tiny bit of journaling might go. Now there's going to be a huge journaling swath on the other side, so just want to do a little bit more. We don't want to lose our the memories that go along with these photos, so I think this one is going to become the 5 by 7 that I'm going to use, so I'll reprint that in 5 by 7. I do really like this photo though, so I'm still going to use that photo. So I'm just going to set it aside because that's going to go on the other side. But I'm going to put this one, when I store this away in my, with all my other pages, I'm going to put this in there and probably write on the back 5 by 7. Just so that I know, and I make notes to myself, because I will forget. Okay, so this is how this layout is going to look. This is the long one. Okay, so it's all going to be matchy-matchy on both sides. I think it's probably about 1 inch down. That's my guess. Let's just play around with it before we tack it down. Yeah, inch on both sides would work perfectly. So I'm going to go ahead, this is where my title is going to go. We'll do that here in a little bit. Now the cool thing about this is it has a fine tip, a finer tip applicator, and then this is the wide tip applicator. I don't know if you've ever seen these, but they're pretty cool. If I can get it to focus, then maybe you guys can see, but it's got like little ridges, and it's quite wide, and it has a little dot there that the glue comes out. So, and this I'm running out of too. I have all this on order. It just hasn't gotten here yet. Be a pretty sad day to run out of adhesive of every kind, huh? Hopefully that does not happen. Might have to go to Elmer's Glue. That would not be fun. Okay, I do want, the cool thing about this stuff though is you can slide it around. So if you put it down, you have a little bit of time to adjust, which always helps when you're scrapbooking so that you can get the correct placement of things. Now I didn't get it close enough to the edges, so I can always come back in with, and I will, with a fine tip applicator and just get right underneath there. So that's an inch above. So now everything, I'm just gonna take this and put it down here. I'm just gonna line up with that bottom strip because that strip is an inch below, or an inch above the bottom, and it should be pretty horizontal. So I'm just going to line it up with that. Okay. Now this one I might do a little differently. I don't know yet. I want to play around with it on the next page. And I may just leave this one like this and then do it on the other page. So I just don't, and I am going to tack this down. Because if I journal, I want to do it on this. And I can always cover this up with another piece of paper if I really need to. It's not that critical. Okay. And I think if I journal, I'm going to do it on the left-hand side, but I only need an inch over there because this way it's kind of balanced and opposite of my other journaling square, right? So you kind of want to make things balanced, and I think mirror images are definitely a good way of balancing things. If you really are new to it and you don't know how to balance something on one page to the next, mirror image is always good, so that's why I tend to do opposite. But you could always do the same. You just have to know your page, and you're the creator, right? So nobody can tell you what to do. Okay. Yeah, I'm running low on this glue too. Okay. Let's just get a little bit more over corners. Okay. And again, I'm going to reprint this and put it here. Let's go ahead and get our title done now. So this is my thin cut that I'm going to use for the title. I have two other thin cuts, but they're going to potentially be on the other page. I don't know which one I'm going to use. I'm thinking they're oval, but we will have to see. So this is from the Aurora collection last year. If you haven't gotten that yet, it's still available. I haven't seen it. I haven't looked either. So this was such an amazing collection. love these. So both of these same sets are from there, from that collection. But this is the card making set. And this is the one I'm going to use for the title as well. It's this set. But let's go ahead and do this guy. This is so fun. It's just a little camper. So there's a little camper with the trees and the sun. Very fun, outdoorsy. Now I might cover it up later if I'm going to use Toffee on this one. I might cover up later if I think of like a different one that I want to do with my Cricut. Okay, so I do have a Cricut. I just haven't thought that far ahead, and really I plan these right before I go on, like an hour or so before I do my lives. I always have an idea of what I'm going to do, but it's when I get all my materials together, do any thin cuts that I need. So bringing out my Cricut machine and getting that all going takes a little bit longer than what I usually allow myself for time. Get all my other stamp colors out that are pertinent. So I can either do, I'm just going to wipe this off. I can either do, I'm going to do Adventure Awaits, and I'm going to do it on a daisy, and I might do it in 2 different colors. I might just ombre it. Actually, that might be really pretty. Let's try an ombre effect with it. If you haven't done ombre, it's quite fun to do. And I have a tutorial on my YouTube. You guys can always go over there and check it out. And that's Dawn DePalme Crafts. It's my YouTube channel, and I upload all these to my YouTube as well. So if you guys don't like to go to Facebook, then you can always go to YouTube. And I try to upload them the same day. I actually try to do the upload right after this is done. So I kind of want the dark on the bottom. So you start with the dark, and you can wipe it away if you really want. Try it by wiping it away. And I'm going to leave it on half on the adventure and half off. And then you come down here and you lap it, okay? You have to overlap so that you get the mixture of the colors. So that looks kind of cool with the sapphire up to the bluebell. And I always like, when I do ombres, you could do similar tones like blue and blue, or brown and brown, yellow and yellow, you know, those. But if you mix, what I was doing in, I guess this was last month, was and it's on my channel, but I was mixing avocado and lemonade. But let's see if I can get it to, let me pull my light over, see if get it to shine a little bit better for you. Doesn't really show up that well, but in person it looks awesome. So I think I'm going to use it. And I'm going to put the little camper next to it. So let's go ahead and flip these back over. And because my grandfather did come out just about every year and go camping with my dad, this was after I was born. Yeah, see, this is a really tiny thing. I really like it though. So I think I'm going to keep it, but I think I'm going to do something on the Cricut. So I'm going to keep this as well. I'm just going to put it down here or something. But I do want a bigger title, like Out West, or When the West Was Wild, or something like that. Something cute. I'll come up with something. Okay, so I'm just going to leave these here. And I could even do a Adventure Awaits, but I don't know yet. So there's that page. I'm going to set that aside. We're going to do the opposite, or we're going to do the other page. There's the dark side. Okay. Now this one will be laid out like this. And then I'm going to have photos down here. There's going to be 4 photos down here. So I'm going to go ahead and build it from top to bottom instead of bottom to top. I should have done that on the other one too, but in case you guys are wondering, so these photos are going to be a 4 by 2.5. And these are clearly 4 by 6. Okay, so these are 4 by 6 photos. That's what I have printed 99% of the time, unless I know I'm going to do a bigger photo. So I trimmed something down to a 4, good morning Leslie, a 4 by 2.5 photo size, and this way I can just lay it over, and I know that these are going to be vertical, so I just hold this vertical and I just lay it over and make sure that these are going to fit. Okay, so I went through all my photos. I got about 100 photos yesterday printed, and I just went like this and made sure that they were all going to fit. So this is my grandfather on one of the machine guns on a Liberty ship in California, which was really cool because he was stationed on a Liberty ship in the World War II. So that was pretty cool. It was a cool trip. Learned a lot about World War II that trip, that's for sure. I was lucky enough to be on that one. I was actually one that he flew out specifically to see me on spring break from college. One of his last times out here, actually. And the last time he came out to the western part of the U.S. was in 2011. So it's been a while. But this was done in 2008, I believe. I believe it was my last spring break in college, and I graduated college in 2008, so there's that. This one is going to go right next to it. Now I still need to bring my trimmer in to trim these photos down, and you can always take that little layout that you did, that little card that you cut, and you can always mark your photos if you really want to. I'm not going to, just because I don't want to trim it right to that mark and accidentally have a mark on there. So there's this is where my journaling is going to go, is right here. And this is going to be left blank. I love this paper to be left blank like that, but there's going to be 4 photos, one right next to each other down here, and they're going to be these 4. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and trim those down and glue them on after I get my zip strip on there. A 1/2 inch by 12 inch. Even when I cut them down, I call them zip strips because that's just the size of the zip strip. And a lot of the time when I refer to it, people know what I'm talking about. If I just say put a zip there, they know that it's a 1/2 inch by 12. Oops. So I'll have to redo part of this. I wasn't supposed to keep it this length. Let's trim it. And this is supposed to be longer. You know what? I'm going to keep it. So the way that it was supposed to go was, I am still supposed to trim it though. I'm going to trim it down. So 6 by 4, so it's 10 inches. So I'm going to trim 2 inches off. Supposed to have some on the top too. And I just got to talking and I didn't pay attention. So it's supposed to have a zip up here, like this, and then a zip down here that only went to here, so that this was offset a little bit. So, I don't know, I think I'm just gonna put more glue on this since I pretty much rubbed it all off by trimming it. I'm just gonna put it down here. And that's okay. there's that. I'm going to go ahead and trim these guys, these nice little photos of my grandfather. So nice to actually work when you have photos. So this one, I do want him kind of centered. So actually maybe I will mark these just a little bit, just so that I can see where I want it. But I do want the gun in there. This is just too cool to leave out. So I kind of want his hand in it. So I think I'm going to put it right in here. I'll trim on the inside of those lines. And I have shears. I can always trim it down if I see a line. So there's my lines and how I'm going to trim this photo. So it's a little bit more tedious when you don't have 4x6 photos all the way around your layout, but I think the effects are worth the work. Okay, so there's that one. And that should match my little template. It does. Now this one, I'll have to ask my dad where this was taken. I know it's somewhere out here, but I don't really know where. So, and I'm just gonna trim this down. I'm gonna eyeball this one. So again, I need a 2.5 by 4. So let's go ahead and do the 2.5. So here's the 2.5 by 4. I really don't want to lose, and this is already by 4, so that's good, right? So we're good there. We've got the nice sky background with the, it's a really nice contrast actually with the background. This was that same trip that I took with my grandfather. We went to San Francisco and Yosemite. We went quite a few places. Oakland. There's a aircraft carrier in Oakland. I went over there for that. So this one I'm going to do the same that I did on the first one because I want it so that he's on the bridge. And then I get a nice balance of the bridge and the sky. So this is Golden Gate. In case you can tell with the red bridge, or you've never been there. If you have never been there, it's definitely, I think it's definitely worth seeing at least once in your life. It's gorgeous. And this was an incredibly sunny day. If you've been to the bridge, so we stayed with my dad used to work in California for several years actually. And we stayed there a couple summers with him when I was in high school. And it was just so much fun. So we saw the Golden Gate quite often, and not this often was it this sunny. So this was quite a treat to have my grandfather see the Golden Gate. I'm sure this isn't his only trip to the Golden Gate, but definitely was a really pretty day. This one I'm just going to trim to 2.5 because he's already on the other side of the photo. And it's already at a 4. And I'm pretty sure that's Mesa Verde. Like 99% sure. So then I'm probably going to just play with placement. Actually, I kind of like that. I think that looks really good. And I believe it went from oldest to recent, so past to recent. This is definitely an older photo of their trips. One of their trips. I don't know which one. Plus, I know it was a scan by my dad, so I know he scanned some of these in for me so that I could have them for this album. So that was quite something. He'd fly out every September. And he'd stay a couple days with us at the house, and then he and my dad would drive off. And they had a really good time. And then one of the last trips that he did out west was with my dad and my Uncle Steve. It's my dad's oldest brother. Well, my dad's older brother. My dad's the second oldest in the family. I have 6 kids. So there's quite a few kids. So you guys are learning a lot about my history, and that's all about the storytelling, right? We want to tell our stories. We want to make sure they're documented. We don't want to lose these. And this one says 2005, so it was earlier than what I thought it was. It was one of the last years I was in college, but it must not have been. It must have been one of the first years. It would have been my freshman year of college. It was this trip then. I thought it was a little bit later. And again, 6 years later was his last trip out west. And that was in 2011. April 2011. So there he is. It's so nice to actually work with the photos, huh? So I'm going to do some journaling here, for sure. But let's get our other little, I think I'm going to use this one. This is going to be here. So let's go ahead and stamp that. Sorry if I bumped you. Okay, so I'm going to do this in sapphire. I think it'll go really well. I don't really want to do it with, I was thinking about doing it with toffee, but I really don't want to because it's going to go next to the background. I know it's going next to another sapphire, so I could do bluebell or espresso, but really, one of my favorite colors is sapphire, so I'm going to just do sapphire. So in case you don't know the stamp sets that I'm referring to, this is the one that I used on the other page. That's the card making workshop, card making stamp set. This is the scrapbooking stamp set. So that's the one I'm going to use now. And that's all from the Aurora collection last May-June catalog of 2020. If you didn't see these were an incredible collection. Of course, I might be a little biased too because my daughter's name is Aurora, so you never know. And she was named after the Aurora Borealis, not the princess. I get that a lot. Okay. And this one, I don't ever use this stamp set because they're so big. Because they're for scrapbooking. And I'm more of a card maker, so this is really I've been working on my kids' scrapbooks from when they were born, but this is really my first big scrapbook, my big album that I've done. So I don't usually use these very much. No, I want to make sure that I get the ink everywhere. Now if I mess up, I can flip it over because this one is symmetrical. But I definitely want to make sure that there's ink everywhere on this one. Also, let me know if you guys like to cut first or to stamp first for die cuts. I like to cut first. Find it easier to line up, even though I kind of boogered that one up, but that's alright. Gives it character. Okay. Now I'm going to lift it up, but I'm going to only put the 3D foam along there. The reason being is that I got to stick a journaling card behind there still. So what you can always do too is just put one over there. Just don't take the backing off. And you can always just leave the backing on forever, right? It's not going to be a big deal if you leave that backing on. So just, it keeps it cushioned, right? So that it doesn't get squished down right there or bent or something. So you can always leave the backing on. So I'm going to leave this one on. Hopefully I remember when I get there. And that's why I keep talking about it, because I'll forget. And I'll just do it out of habit. There we go. Outdoor expedition, dare to discover, stay wild. I think that's a good one. And then I'll slip that right back here. See, I can pull this right up because my foam tape isn't stuck down. So there's that. There's that page. All right, thanks for joining me today. I don't know if I'm going to add some more glitz and glam on this. I don't know yet. Might add some stars from these little bitty stars. I don't actually know what they're called. Either that or, these are really cool. These little animal guys from Hillside Cottage, which is coming up in the new catalog. Here's the stars I was referring to. Silver star confetti. They're made for the shakers, but they're fun to put on other projects too. I put them on cards a lot. So add some glitter on here. Add some bling, right? I have some more I have wooden arrows too. I could always shimmer those up. You can draw on these with your shimmers. So that might be kind of neat too, adding some of these. And I might do that later. So, alright guys, you have a good one, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.